This Friday, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are back to switch things up in Disney's Freakier Friday.
Totally. Yes.
It's an absolute riot. Woo! And the only movie that can be described as
so much weirder than the last time. What last time?
It's the frequel.
You ready?
We've been waiting for.
That absolutely slays.
What deeply out of touch old person came up with that?
You did.
Wow.
Don't miss the comedy event of the summer for all ages. Disney's Freakier Friday in theaters this Friday. Get tickets now. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
Have you seen the documentary on him that recently came out?
I have not.
Did you watch that? It was really interesting, but like sad too.
Yeah, he had some props. Well, 3, 2, 1, we're live. Hello, Criminal Mischief Nation. Welcome back to another bonus episode of Criminal Mischief with Carolyn and Branden. What Carolyn was just talking about was the passing of
God only knows what.
Yeah, the great Brian Wilson. Bruce Springsteen put a great post out about him saying, calling him a musical genius, but he also said he was the frontman of the greatest American band ever, like the quintessential American band. And this is a guy who's, founded the fucking E Street Band, and he's saying that about the Beach Boys. So we listened to him, and hearing stuff about him like that. The song you were just singing, God Only Knows, scared Paul McCartney.
I was just gonna,
into writing Sgt. Pepper's.
I know, yes.
Holy shit,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, it's like that fed off of each other. And the Rolling Stones, I read something recently where there was there was this supposed rivalry between the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. They're like, no, we were totally. They were kind of thought they were the grungy. The Rolling Stones were like the grungers, and the Beatles were polished and
There was something I read, and I'm going to get the bands wrong somewhere, some way. I know it, but it's just a difference between back then, 60s and 70s, and today. So I love Miley Cyrus, first of all. I love Miley Cyrus. I think she's a national treasure. I think she's great. Okay. And her song that she just won the Grammy for, Flowers, I can buy myself flowers.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Great song. Yeah. But when I hear it, the first time I heard it, I went, is that Bruno Mars? Is that Bruno Mars? Because I love Bruno Mars also. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then it was a few months later that I read that she's being sued by the songwriter, that it's basically the same melody and kind of even the same intention of this, the song the lyrics kind of mean the same thing, right? And she's getting sued. Okay. And then I read a story, something having to do with Prince and a Neil Young song or something like that, right? Where Prince was like, hey, Neil, and this is where I'm going to get the bands wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Prince. But anyway, he goes, hey, I really love your song, and it must have gotten into my head while I was sleeping because I wrote this and I'm realizing that the chord progression is exactly the same. Neil's like, I don't give a shit. I love your stuff. Go for it, buddy. And he's like, oh, wow, cool. Thanks. And then gave him a huge part of the publishing anyway. They didn't need to be lawyers involved. It didn't be anything. One guy was honest. The other guy was, hey, I'm a fan. And then they both did the right thing, right?
Who got really screwed is Sly and the Family Stone. Do you know that story?
From what song?
A bunch of them. It was crazy.
Really?
I watched that documentary. It was so interesting and so good. The riff.
Now I'm going to backtrack a little bit because you're right. Because there are so many, going back to the 50s now and even the 40s and stuff, and with the rise of Elvis, okay, mm-hmm. that they just stole so many riffs and songs from black artists that just got fucking
absolutely.
Screwed. Oh,
yeah.
See, now I'm like, not everybody.
And Sly's life could have been completely different.
Very different. Yeah.
Had there was a lot going on. So separate from his kind of the path that he took, that he went down, unfortunately, because he truly was a genius. Because he recently passed away, a couple weeks ago.
Wow. I didn't know it was that recent.
All these people were sampling, and maybe some of them, paid royalties or whatever. But like he could have been like his stuff could have been in commercials,
Right, like not what it's worth. I mean, that's where most of Barry Manilow, because I also happen to be a fan of Barry Manilow stuff. Um, so much of his
Third.
vast fortune, he
Yeah.
wrote jingles like in the 80s after he was already this huge recording artist.
Yeah.
He was writing jingles
Yeah.
for massive money.
Well, I mean, in the Bee Gees, they had to in the 70s when they
Fucking
like
Bee
completely
Gees.
like nobody gets like
Yo.
go away. It's like we're gonna take all of your albums, put them in an arena, and burn them. The 70s are over. Disco is over.
How great were the Bee Gees?
I, you know what? Do you know that riff of like, oh
Staying
God,
Alive?
I don't know. It's the riff in the very beginning, but it was like from, I think one of the brothers heard this thing where they go over this street and
Oh,
it made
wow,
this
really?
noise when they were
Miami,
like,
because they were all living in Miami.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And it
yeah.
was like this, and it's like, then once you hear it, you can't not hear it. But
Oh,
it
it's
was,
so great. I
anyway, it
love
was
shit like
so
that.
cool. But yeah, I mean, the
They were
Bee
so
Gees.
good vocally and with their harmonies and their songwriting and all that. They
But
were
you know
just
what's sad? When I watched that documentary, the brother, Barry, who's the only one left,
very
he
good.
was like, I would give it all back to have my brothers again.
Yep, yep.
I
Of
mean,
course. Of
it's
course.
like,
Yeah. I know. I know. It's sad as hell. But man, the
it's like,
musical gifts that they left us. Whoa.
absolutely. I think
Whoa.
that we had to like have this like cleansing before we get into
Before we
this
get
like
into the
really
darkness. So what was
horrific.
really interesting about you picking this episode is I'm doing a lot of traveling this summer. I'm gonna be in Europe for a long time, right? And so for my other show, The Devil Within, uh last summer, okay, I like doing the Clark Griswold stuff, okay, and like load up the kids and take a road trip, right?
Mm,
For the 2 years before that, we went to Yellowstone every year, which was great. Last year, it was, the Pacific Southwest, I'm sorry, the American Southwest. We did, Hoover Dam and we did the Grand Canyon and we did, Red Rock
mm,
and like all that. It was great. And when I realized what the schedule was, I front loaded a bunch of my episodes, what I did last summer. Okay. Right? And so
mm.
I would find hauntings and monster stories about all these little communities that I was in. So for this year, um, I'm doing European vacation and I'm front loading a bunch of episodes about the great kind of monsters of Europe. And there are
Oh
so
my
many
God. So dark.
werewolf stories starting in
Mm,
London, going through France. Almost every city in Italy has a
mm,
different kind of take on the werewolf myth. So I'm just really kind of doing, it's like almost like the summer of the wolf. So the
mm.
fact that you're doing this one now dovetails really nicely with all of the research I've been doing for my other
I
show.
love that that's how you like to vacation. I love that because I love doing not work when I'm on vacation, but
Mhm.
like doing doing creative work,
Research and figure, yeah,
research
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like being, I mean, yeah, it's awesome to sit at a cafe and enjoy coffee and I believe me, I love that. But like it's also really cool to like have a purpose behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like
Like
in
if that
addition,
cafe is 3 blocks away from, an alleged murder scene where, a Venetian
Mhm.
seamstress was carved up by an alleged werewolf in 1510. That's cool.
Alleged. I think anybody's gonna sue you, Brandon. Okay.
I just want to be
They
safe,
wanted to make
you
sure. I
know?
know. I love that. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I like to do too. So it's
Yeah.
like mana imana. It's like that's
Right.
so
And the,
cool.
and the difference is that like starting in London, like these cities are just the history of it's just layers of dead.
Mm,
Just,
mm.
starting with like fucking plague pits and Anglo-Saxon mass graves and like all of the just layer after layer after layer.
You know what?
Like
You accused me of being dark.
just telling you,
You know what? It's funny because I was thinking about this episode and how you accused me. It was coming back to me, the trauma of, and I think rightly so. As I was re-listening to it, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't. I remember how conflicted I was with sharing this level of graphic, horrific
Right.
detail.
To
Like,
even talk about it. And the difference between what I do on my show, it's all alleged or sources report that or what whatever. It's stuff that's impossible to prove, but eyewitness accounts being what they are, okay, and then written accounts from the hundreds of years ago, okay, yeah, sure, they're cool, funny campfire stories, basically, right?
yeah.
And scary if true. The thing with Spillman,
Wait a second. Are you sitting there saying, if true? Wait a second.
the
Do
thing with
you want to
Spillman,
believe? Do you want?
the thing with Spillman is that he did it,
Yeah,
and that's the obvious massive difference,
yeah,
okay, is
yeah,
that what I didn't realize, because you're a real person and I tell fake stories, like you're a journalist, okay? I find, hey, someone said this. Let me see if I can tell a story about it, right? Um, so you didn't really lean into the fact that he identified and thought he could turn into a werewolf. Okay.
yeah,
Like I only found that out
yeah.
in the last 24 hours, reading up
Yeah.
on him and listening to the episode and stuff. And
Hmm.
so there was that level of kind of manic kind of delusion in him. It was some kind of break. And well, or unless he actually believed that he could become a werewolf,
Hmm.
and that he was
Here,
acting like one.
and here's, and I don't know if we talked about this last time, but this came out the third episode, like th almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We've been doing
Yeah.
this, right? And I remembered, and that was kind of on the heels of the Shadow Girls, which was really dark too. And
Yep.
I remember, the journalistic piece that you're talking about, where this is took place a couple of hours away from my house. So these tapes, when I found them, and this is part of what I love about what I do, is like I didn't know what was going to be there. I just knew that it was in this archived box, and that if I wanted it, I had to drive, you know, 2.5 hours away to get to it. And I had to make an appointment and all that stuff. I mean, they almost like strip search you to get to it. So I get to it, and then I see that there's these tapes. And Bob Keppel is like really, really well known in this area as being this massive criminal profiler. And, he helped with the Ted Bundy case, he helped with the Gary Ridgway case, and so many others. And so when I saw these tapes, I was like, what is this? And so I started listening to them, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And I just was like processing it. And so then I went back like 2 or 3 times because you couldn't take it with you. You had to do it there. And so I felt that what I couldn't articulate at the time, 3 years ago, my feeling, which I feel like I could better articulate it now, is that I wanted people to know this was a bird's eye view into this, what it is with these men who hate women
Mm.
and why, and their reasoning behind what they're doing. And it's like, for me, I finally understood what that was. I never fully understood what that was, because before in my life, I've just never been around that. At least I didn't know I was. I just don't go around thinking men think this way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But these type of men, and, this is a massive extreme, this is how they think. And it's super terrifying, but it's like, and it's really awful, but I'm glad that I have the information about the grooming process of these guys, like what they're doing, with their victims. And so I felt like it justified playing this really horrendous, you know, his reasonings behind what he did,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And any of those tapes that you heard,
Mm.
did he mention anything about his desire to actually become a werewolf? Did you ever go like, all right, this guy's
Yeah, he had a like he would wear these werewolf t-shirts and just had the werewolf stuff in his room. And he was really like into the werewolf thing. And I think that his family was even like, what's up with this guy? You know, you would just look at it as like, oh, he's really into werewolves. But he did start talking about it and he skirted around it, but basically like I think that's what he saw himself as this wolf,
But
this lone wolf.
was he trying to um, manifest or some kind of actual physical transformation? Did he think that that was actually possible?
What I think and what's coming back to me now from my memory is that he justified what he did by believing
Already was. Okay.
that he was one. You know, that these acts that he was doing were a manifestation of his belief that he was a
Yeah.
wolf.
So
Like he
because
was like it was somehow his spirit, you know, it was
yeah.
imbued in himself that he was this wolf.
Because there were so I found investigators found writings and drawings suggesting Spillman identified with wolves or mythical werewolves. A former inmate claimed that Spillman discussed wanting to drink blood and to transform during full moons, and that he reportedly fantasized about, quote, harvesting women the way a predator culls prey from a herd.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whew. Um, Quotes from officers. He didn't just kill like a monster. He wanted to become one. Jack Spillman believed werewolves were the ultimate predators, so he decided to become one. And it wasn't about bloodlust, it was about transformation.
I think that that's true, but I think look at the birds. I mean, I think that
Yeah.
the birds were the gateway thing, and then he, you know, he built his own cosmology around what he wanted to do. Like I totally believe that to justify it, to make it bigger than himself, you know? But then if you think back to Belinda,
Yeah.
you know, like I was just hearing something somewhere about how these incels, you know, they come from a place of this they are bullied, women are rejecting them, and then they just turn to this, you know, they go onto the web and they, you know, just get indoctrinated. They're looking for this acceptance or whatever. In this case, it was like this werewolf mythology that he created for himself was
Yeah.
like you know that's the I mean his idol was Ted Bundy, so like I'm sure he
But I'm
wanted
also
to.
thinking early 90s, right? Where when he became active in the mid 90s, early 90s, there was a popular Jack Nicholson movie where he becomes a fucking werewolf. It was Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer and oh, come on. The great guy from the 80s movies who went on and then he was in Blacklist.
Oh, I know who you're talking about, James Spader.
James Spader. And James Spader was like kind of the bad guy, whatever, that also becomes a werewolf and they have to fight in the end. Um, yeah, so I
You know
wonder,
what's crazy is that I think I actually saw that.
it's a good movie.
I, I know, but I'm just saying
There was
like
a great scene where it's quintessential Jack Nicholson, where he probably had done this in his regular life to like a rival. There was a scene where he and Spader are like co-workers, okay? And Nicholson's in the bathroom and he's standing at a urinal. And then Spader comes in and Spader's trying to be the cool guy. And Nicholson turns and just starts peeing on his legs to mark his territory. Okay. All right. And Spader's like, what are you? And Jack's just looking right at him, just smiling. I'm like, that's so Nicholson. It was great. Michelle
again
Pfeiffer.
justifying being a werewolf to do what he wants to do
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah,
And Michelle
yeah.
Pfeiffer's, 30 years beautiful and, awesome. It was a good movie. I wonder if that influenced Spillman at all. That would be interesting. Or if he was more of like a Gen X, like Teen Wolf guy, like we are, right? But that wasn't, Michael J.
I
Fox
think
wasn't going out and eating people,
no, I think
playing
he
basketball.
had this. I think he had this in him. I think darkness called. You
Right.
know.
Now it goes back to a debate that we've had so many times. Is it mental illness or was
Mhm.
he or was it evil? And is that level of evil considered a mental illness?
I mean, I think that it's funny how you want to lean into the werewolfism.
Yeah,
If that's yeah, yeah.
I do.
And I think that it's like him just totally justifying, you know, he's in a cult of himself. He wants to create this world for himself where he's the star
Right,
and
but
and
what came first? Did his hatred and his desire to cull women come
Mhm.
first? And then he said, "Oh, that's kind of like a werewolf, so that's what I'll adopt." Or did he fall in love with werewolf culture and want to kind of mimic the behavior of wolves?
I think he loved the idea of being a wolf and he wanted to see himself as the ultimate predator. I mean, it's funny how you glommed on to the wolf thing, but the bird thing, like, and how women are birds and like what?
No, look, we've talked about that. Like, of course, it's just I
Yeah,
haven't looked at it clearly through the prism of a guy who is actually trying to be a werewolf. I find
yeah,
that really interesting. I want to be a New York Yankee, right? I want to be a fucking baseball player. I don't go out there and take batting practice and think, that I'm going to play shortstop, right? That's not. So
I,
it's there's people have these fantasies or these ideas uh, of these alternate personalities or different worlds that they want to occupy. And very rare. I mean, so maybe you go to a furry convention dressed as a wolf and enjoy
mhm,
yourself, okay?
mhm.
But it doesn't mean you mimic the really destructive, murderous, grotesque behavior of those animals,
Yeah,
right?
no, he had he I think that the werewolf thing was just a means to
Yeah,
an end, that he wanted to do this. He wanted to hurt women. He wanted to since he was little and
yeah.
and continued to do it. And then that was another thing, the sexualized burglaries. Like, what is that? But then it makes sense. It's like, oh my gosh, the idea that you could hurt someone and the power that I don't know, this case really just kind of made me see things in a different way. And it's
Well,
kind of
sure.
like,
And I'm glad you brought that up. That was in my notes because that's where the whole thing starts to fall apart. Okay.
mhm.
Because nowhere in werewolf culture from back in the 1800s or actual wolf culture, do they rape their prey before they kill it and eat it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not,
No,
it's
I
not
know. He's
sexualized
using
behavior.
his own he's creating his own stuff.
Exactly. He was creating his own mythology. So that's why I think his inclination towards murder and misogyny and like extreme misogyny came first.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No question. No question.
And then he just took it
And
to,
how he could cloak it.
yeah.
How he could cloak it with Penny's mom.
Yeah.
And how she didn't see it and he would read and it was all a part of this. It's kind of like, do you remember, I think Jerry Sandusky, he was that
Oh
coach.
gosh. Yeah. Penn State.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I read this article in the New Yorker when that first blew up, and it was like it really talked about what he did, how he would do it, and it totally, the grooming process, and and
oof.
it's like there is that process, and it's like you don't want to think about it. It's not
Mhm.
something that you want to know because, our friend, the FBI guy who was, you talked to a lot about satanic panic stuff.
Yeah.
He's the one that said, you never hear of a satanic bank robber.
Or right. He goes, you never hear of satanic wire fraud
Exactly.
or a satanic car thief.
Uh,
No.
right. And I think that that's okay, because we want to think it's the guy in the wrinkled raincoat. We don't want to think that it's the coach.
Right.
You don't want to think that it's, somebody that you've let into your life, right?
No, of course not.
And that's why listening to what he was saying was like, yeah, he knew how to keep that wolf inside. And
Yeah.
then, you know, the wolf in sheep's clothing, as they say. You know, she had no idea.
God.
You know, struggling single mom who probably just appreciated having somebody who appeared to be a friend and was like a good guy. Like, I mean, it's like you don't want to be scared of everybody, and you shouldn't, but I think it's good to know, you know, so you can kind of not go into it blind, you know?
Man, so we're going to do episode 2 of this next week?
Yep, episode 2.
It's interesting. I'll have even more werewolf stuff to talk about.
I just love that. I love that idea of you tooling around Europe, like going to all these places that probably a lot of people aren't going to be at, which is cool. So you can have about the history.
Look, we're going to hit the big spots.
Okay,
also. I
know, but I'm talking about like
yes.
other things to go to that aren't
off the beaten path. 100%.
Yeah, like that's
along with the Colosseum and the Vatican and Pompeii and and all that we're going to do. But
all right.
But yeah, it'll be fun. Well, thank you for joining us today, Nation, for this Werewolf Butcher Redux. And check out Devil Within if you want more werewolf stories for the this summer coming up. It's the summer of the wolf.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, if you start wearing furries, I'm gonna.
You never know. I never know. Fangs, right? I'll get some fangs. I'll show up with. Yeah.
You already have retractable fangs.
Big mane of hair.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think it'll be great. That'll be great. All right. Well, listen, head over to Apple Podcast or Spotify, rate and review the show. Check out the socials, go to YouTube, all that stuff. And if you have any ideas or any thoughts about this, or if you have any remembrances of this case or anything having to do with him or werewolves, email us. We have a website. We have an email address, info@evocreative.com. We would love to hear from you. Carolyn, anything you'd like to add?
Nope.
All right. Until next time.
Oh, by the way, happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Much.
And thank you for listening.
Relaxing day. Thank you very much. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I hope you had a great one. Until next time, stay safe. Later.
Okay. Bye.
From Pie in the Sky Media, Criminal Mischief is an EVO production. Recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We're produced by Brandon Morgan and myself. Music by Soundstripe. For EVO Creative, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host.